joined by the voice of the Colts, Matthew Taylor, for the first time live.
What's going on, man? Yeah.
Good to see you.
I know. You guys have been at Media Day for Big Ten stuff. You've been covering Colts games. Were you at Graham Park?
We were not there yet. We're trying to I was trying to stretch out this year. We'll be there this year.
Yeah.
It's planning, man. I'm not the best planner. I need a planner.
Yeah, you do need a little.
I need a planner. I need a planner person.
Get you a notebook. Start.
That notebooks didn't work. So I'll end up having 3 of them.
Oh God.
Like I do. I'll end up having this one, another one, and I'm like, they're all in different ones. I'm like, well, that's in the wrong place. But
well, you're talking to Mr. Type A, so I can't help you there. I am Type A as it gets.
I wish that we were on the same line, brother, because I'm a lost ball in high weeds. This is a spectacle for the NFL. It is a great networking event. It's so many things with all the players that are coming here looking for jobs, in essence, all the GMs that are here, the coaches that are here, for those guys, but also the meetings and everything. There's so much that goes on, even with you guys, all of the communications for all of the teams. That's the only time, other than maybe the Super Bowl, something like that, you guys would be in the same place at the same time?
No, I mean, this is the biggest, one of the biggest, maybe outside of the draft, but I mean, just in terms of hub and centralized, like the nervous system of the offseason, that's the combine. And the NFL has done such a terrific job of turning the combine into a tent pole, if you will, event of the offseason, and having the workouts, having the interviews, but coupling that and making it a media event in the sense that we're going to have most every general manager, because not all of them. It's technically voluntary, but I would say 30 out of 32 general managers speak. Same thing with the head coaches. So if you cover a team, or if you're an NFL insider or an analyst, you've got to come, because it's the kickstart to free agency. It is sort of like the offseason State of the Union for 32 teams, with their GMs and coaches being up there and talking about, how the season ended, what's coming up in free agency, how we're looking at the draft, changes to the coaching staff. I mean, this is really the first time that, again, if you cover a team, it's the first time hearing from your general manager or head coach since the end of the season, which, believe it or not, it's a long time ago. That's for the Colts. I mean, their season ended 8 weeks ago. Which, in NFL terms, that's a lot of time. So, I mean, it's just hilarious, because the Super Bowl is over. 2 weeks later, it's the combine. 2 weeks later, it's free agency. 3 weeks after that kind of settled down, it's the draft. So, I mean, there really is no such thing as the NFL offseason, and the combine is, I mean, it used to be a blind event because you couldn't cover it. You couldn't see the workouts. That's no longer the case. But the combine is just such a, like, there's no game, like there's no real like payoff, but yet there's 4,000 credentialed media here.
And as far as the Colts go, names that just bouncing around for whatever reason: Shane Steichen, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis. Don't know why I keep hearing those names, but they sure are bouncing around a lot, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the big, headliner, if you will, for the Colts. I mean, that's what you get after a 4-12-1 season. A lot of speculation on what they're going to do at quarterback. They're sitting at number 4. Ryan Poles, the general manager of the Bears, he's on record here at the combine saying, we have a lot of trust and faith in Justin Fields. And so, like, all the bells and whistles and alarms are going off.
That sent everybody into the next mode.
Right. So now, okay, it's, there's a for sale sign on that number 1 pick, and who's going to be involved in that? What will it take to get up to number 1? Do you need to get up to number 1 if you're a team like the Colts to get a franchise quarterback, to get the guy that they covet in a lot of different senses? One, so you get the guy that can give you some franchise stability, considering all the different, quarterbacks this team has had, the quarterback carousel, and the offensive instability, but also get the guys so that the Houston Texans don't get that guy that you really covet, if indeed that's the case, so that you don't have to play that guy twice a year for the next decade, playing inside the AFC South for Houston. So I think it really all boils down to the Colts' evaluation of these quarterbacks, in their determination on, do they need to go up from 4 to 1? Because if you do that, I still think that incorporates giving up, your first-round draft pick for next year, which is really, really important, considering, they're going to have holes, they're going to have needs. They're not just a quarterback away, in my opinion, from being in that upper echelon of the AFC with teams like the Chiefs and the Bills and the Bengals, so on and so forth. So I think it just boils down to, is Bryce Young significantly better than CJ Stroud or the rest of those top quarterbacks? I think that will determine how much urgency, if you will, the Colts have. And Chris Ballard spoke yesterday about, hey, I know the narrative out there is that you got to go from 4-1 to get a quarterback. And this is probably GM speak, so take it for what it's worth. But, I'm not so sure if that's true. Maybe we can get a guy that we really believe in and stay at 4, stick to our guns, and not give up draft capital for later on this year or next year when we're trying to supplement the offense or supplement the roster with other key players. So this is really the big first piece of the puzzle, if you will, of that draft process.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt you can get a guy, but can you get the guy? Because like you mentioned, the Houston is also up there. There's 3 quarterbacks their names are bouncing around. Like I said, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, and
Anthony Richardson. He's in that too.
From Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like 1A, 1B. But if you want 1A, you got to give it up. Or is it worth keeping that and getting 1B?
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if Bryce Young can make off-schedule throws and he also has all of the intangibles, the smarts, the passion, the leadership, if he is the total package, then, yeah, you've got to be convicted about that. You have to have no shadow of a doubt that this guy is going to be what we're looking for at quarterback. Because if you get it wrong, here you are whiffing on quarterback,
and you're Cleveland Browns all of a sudden.
Right, and then you're probably out of a job if you're high up in the personnel department, and you're doing this over again probably in the 2026 draft, right? So that's how important this is. And, I know I was on the show a few weeks back. I mean, the Colts, this is like the foundational offseason. Like, when you're building a house, it doesn't matter how many great fixtures you have or the decorations or, if you go for the big plush carpet, none of that matters if your foundation is not solid. And that's what this offseason is all about for the Colts. It started with the head coach getting that right guy in place. And they think they do have that in place now with Shane Steichen. And some would argue the quarterback is more important. I would probably agree with that. But you have to have those two guys married up and gelling, and you got to get the most out of both sides of that relationship. And so, yeah, this offseason it's halfway done in terms of those two key components. And, we'll see what the Colts decide to do at quarterback, knowing that there's a lot of guys to choose from. Their evaluation is ongoing. But I think the biggest thing is just all of these guys are not perfect. They're not the perfect prospect like an Andrew Luck or a Trevor Lawrence. They've all got something about them that has a little bit of an asterisk, right? It's not enough sample size or too small or didn't make enough plays off schedule in the case of CJ Stroud. But you can live with that guy and be able to evolve with him and get him better and grow him, but he has to be relentless about wanting to get better and wanting to be a great leader and lift up the teammates inside the huddle. That, I think, is the biggest aspect of what the Colts are looking for in the combine of the draft.